middle class girls, I come from a working class background, so they're even more attractive. And so I started to do that. And then, you know, I've got a brother who's an actor. He left. He was more interested in women than I was, actually. And he left and then went to a drama school, basically because there was sort of nothing else to do, you know. And after that, because I had no sense of what I wanted to do in my life at all, apart from stupid things, you like football or something. I sort of went and followed. And we ended up in a drama school in London, and then I started working almost straight away afterwards. You know, it's been that was Gaslights, then it was 40 years ago, but it's been sort of a gradual decline ever since.
So do you both remember the moments you got your equity cards?
I do, particularly because I was at drama school, and I was in my final year, and I had one more term to do. I got a phone call out of the blue from Westfield saying we'd like you to come and join. And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of my mates winding me up. So, and I had to check out, I rang up Spotlight, and I said, this guy from Westfield is running me up. He's telling me he wants to offer me. Is that legitimate? Am I going to be sold into slavery or something? And it was legit. They somehow got my details and they rang me. The only thing is I had to leave my drama school a term early in order to go and do the gym. Yeah. So that's when I got mine. And I ended up running a theatre company, by the way, called Play on Words, and we gave a young actor his first equity card because he couldn't get work. He was in the year below in Central, and we gave him a contract for 3 weeks, gave him his provisional card, and after that he took off, and his name was Chris Eccleston.
So you gave Christopher Eccleston his sort of
his equity card.
So
his he was getting offers after he left drama school, but he couldn't do it because he didn't have the card.
Yeah.
And it was Helen rang me up and said, shall we give Chris his card? And I said, well, I've done some workshops with him. Brilliant actor. He did Deacons, Charles Dickens stuff, and Macbeth workshop.
Which is, both of those projects, which is, more recently, he's been doing again. He's playing Fagin on the CBBC, and he's done Macbeth quite a few times over the last 10 years.
Sort of what he knows. Never rings.
No. It doesn't matter.
And Eric, do you remember when you got your equity card?
Not really. I sort of do a bit. It's a bit like Doctor Who, actually. When I left drama school, I got a job. I was lucky in the West End of London in a thing called the Carol Jenner Theatre. It's called the Arts Theatre. It's a lovely, beautiful theatre right on Leicester Square. Very grand indeed. It used to be packed. It's about this size. And everybody was packed because it was full of school kids. It wasn't a touring theatre, they all came in. Nightmare, because they threw sweets at you and stuff.
Well, you should eat.
Oh yeah, you can eat afterwards, yeah. But I remember it used to be things, why I said that doctors, because occasionally I was paying the due for a week, okay? But the woman playing opposite me I was about, what, 25? She must have been 50, okay? So it was not odd pairing with people, but she obviously worked there before. And I remember playing a glove once, I suppose a full of hand like that, okay? And they sort of put some doors over the place, and we had to run around this the auditorium with the kids. Well, that'd be great, except these horrible little shits would start tripping you over. And if you're in one of those costumes, you fall down, you don't get up again. So I did that for about 6 months, and then I got a job, just by chance, I got a job to the Tennessee Women's Play, European premiere, with great cast, I mean, fantastic cast. And I did that, and it went into the West End. So I sort of usurped that sort of system bit, you know. Yeah, it didn't last that long in the West End, it's a shame it's good play.
Thank you very much, thank you guys. I want to ask you, how did you both get your parts in Time Rush? And what are your memories of Pennant Roberts, the director, which was, Time Rush was his last Doctor Who he ever directed? Let's start with you, Deacon.
Right, well, I originally read for his part. I did such a bad job of it, I ended up as the android. I say the android because the story is I I've been out of work for about 3 months. I got very drunk one night and I thought, what have you got to lose? So I wrote this letter to Sarah Hellings, who'd done the previous Doctor. And I said, I really think I could be a very good Dalek. I've been practicing in my dustbin. I've got an egg whisk and a sink plunger, and I think I've nailed it. And I wrote this thing while I was drunk, and I posted it before I sobered up. And I woke up the next day and what have you done? You know, it's such a stupid thing to do. You know, it's so unprofessional. Anyway, she wrote back to me and she said, lodge your letter. We found it very funny, and but we finished casting. However, Pennant Roberts is doing the next one, and suggests you write to him. So of course, cheekily, I wrote to Pennant saying, Sarah Hellings suggested I write to you. So I managed to get through the door. I was telling Eric last night, when I arrived, he was moving furniture around. And so I walked in and he said, give me on with this. And so he's picking up desks and moving them into other offices and chairs and things like that. And I thought, well, maybe this is part of the audition. I've never been to one before, it's my first audition. And anyway, we ended up, I did the reading of Eric's part. I said, he said, I want you to read the part of Micros. So I said, well, what is he? Animal, vegetable, or mineral? You know, because you don't know Doctor Who, do you? And he said, he's a young Carphalon, and that was the only thing he told me. So I went off and I did it very badly. And then I mentioned I was from Guernsey, and that was it. That's all I said. He was off. 40 minutes, he was just talking about Guernsey and how he'd been there and he'd done an advert and stuff like that. But as I was going out, I knew I'd blown the audition, so I said to him, look, if you've got a monster that's killed, I'm quite happy to let you go. Guy in the background, something like that, get a moving set. And anyway, I got the part of the androids. I thought it was just one. I didn't know until the read-through that they had so little money, they couldn't afford more than one actor. So I ended up paying all of them. With my own face, which was a bit of a backhanded compliment, really.
Blue?
Yeah, blue, yeah, and yellow hair, which is now all fallen out. I think it's a sort of a negative of a Simpson. They've got blue hair and yellow face.
So I just knew Pennant. I can't remember once to work with him before, so I knew it. No, none of it. I didn't know none of this till last night, actually. He told me. And and he just said to me, I was working on another show in Nottingham, I think it was then, about the probation service for hard cases. And he phoned me up and said, do you want to be in my thing of Doctor Who? And at that stage I was working a lot, so you get people, mates phone me up or someone saying, I'm going to be in. And I went, well, Ben, I'd love it, but I can't, you know, I'm doing this show, I'm you know, a big part, I can't get out of it really. He went, I will work around you. That was the typical thing. We'll work around you, don't worry about it, you know. I said, what about rehearsal? I don't worry about that. Come down when you can, you know, or shoot around you and go, okay, thinking of the money, of course, and then, so when I got that, and all I remember is that I don't remember this. We used to rehearse at the BBC, I think it was at Acton, they don't have a big rehearsal rooms at Acton, and we had a real laugh when we were doing this show. Paul Darragh was there, who plays, so saying to another friend of mine a minute ago, Paul Darragh played everything like he was Richard III. Everything like that. He wanted to weep for everybody. And as someone, did you say this last time? Someone said to me, well, you're only, you know, your character was just your pearl green hair. Which is about what it was, really. So when I came into rehearsal rooms, there was a moment, because it was all about people fighting each other on the planet and all this. Take over the planet. There was a big fight sequence at the end, or with guns and pretend guns in the BBC those days, wasn't it? It was sparklers on the end of the gun. You know, and there was a guy, Deacon Ashworth, I think you said, you know, there's a lovely man, he had the worst line I've ever heard an actor have to say. He had to say, if the Thracians used their bendy-lipped generator, I shudder to think of the consequences.
I think that was a rewrite. I think we'd improved it.
Yeah, because we all were going, Deacon, you've got to cut that. I can't say that, man. You know? So he got, well, yeah, he didn't have that big a part. So of course it doesn't, you know, he's not going to cut the part, because he got a few lines. So you used to sit there, and you know when we used to do ice skating, and the judges would hold up cards going 4.3, 2.0, artistic interpretation, So every time we did a rehearsal, we came up to that line, and he said the line, all these people, 4 actors would go. And those days you used to do a producer's line. So when the producer came in, we got so happy to do it, it did not go down well. We would lecture that we weren't taking it seriously. But you know, it's part of the enjoyment of doing that stuff, isn't it? Yeah. That was it, yeah.
Dean, you were saying last night a really good story about Deacon Ashworth. I must just say, Deacon Ashworth was originally going to be here today, but sadly he's not well enough. But I have arranged a private signing, so if you want to get his autograph on any or a signed photo, you can find us in the signing area, and we'll take the details of that. But if you'd like to share your story of,
Was it the fight?
yeah.
So,
Yes, it was the fights one.
right. So we finished rehearsing and we went for a beer in the pub next door to the Hilton. And it was quite a long session. It was getting quite late into the night. And a bar fight kicked off. And I was sitting with Deacon. And I know you all know Deacon, I hope. He's made a career out of playing heavies. You know, he's really, you know, frightening looking. You know. So this fight kicks off, and these two guys came towards us, and they fell on the table. They pinned my legs to the chair. Beer everywhere, you know, covered in beer. Deacon was off, disappeared. And I thought, wow, yeah, that's a nice mate. You know, helping him out. I managed to get the table off these two guys, and you know, everyone's sort of piling in and stuff. And didn't see him till the following day, so I said to him, Deacon, so where were you last night? He said, oh yeah, I've got to look after my face, I can't have anything happen to that. He said, that's my fortune, that is. I mean, yeah, a couple more punches would have made him a bit more bother.
And on the subject of fights, what about your little skirmish in front of the time lash? Do you guys remember doing that?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, but you kept reminding me about that, because I remember about that time lash, it was only about 2 feet deep.
It was, and there was a bloody fan in there. This was before health and safety.
Yeah.
And it didn't have a protector on it or anything. It was just a fan flying around like this. So every time someone got thrown in the time lash, you'll probably see that they tend to edit it quite quickly. The reason for that is that as people went in, you could hear this fan sort of catching someone in the testicles. And they go, oh God, jeez!
It looked like you're going into sort of discotheque.
Yeah, tinsel.
I seem to remember. Yeah, it was tinsel.
It was tinsel.
The funny thing about all that was that big sequence at the end, there was a big sequence where everyone gets attacked. And nowadays, everything's CGI, it's computer stuff. Then, it was all actually built. So they had all these styrofoam walls, and they used to, all the prop guys, and they all treat you like you're an idiot. That's probably right. And they would go, you know, don't touch anything, don't touch the weapon, don't touch. And the weapon was a sparkler. Yeah. It was just a sparkler, it didn't work.
The reason they said don't touch it was because most of the props fell apart.
Yeah, they did, yeah, they did. And if it didn't work, this is absolutely true. So we're all going like this with the guns, okay? You know when you're a kid, you go, okay? And the other kids sort of falling, So you find these actors, they're not working, right? And Pennant, bless him, is up in the control room. And he said a fantastic line once, he said, for Christ's sake, if someone shoots you, play dead. It wouldn't be very good if you had a line to say, would it?
Yeah.
And so the guys would come and say, don't touch the weapon. You go, my weapon's up. So all the actors would go, they couldn't make sort of gunshot noise, so they go, zzz, zzz. They go, stop making noises. And then, what was it, a monster that came through the wall?
Pardon me?
No, was it? No, because it was another sort of, maybe it was one of the...
Oh, it was the Morlocks thing, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
The big
and
palace.
And they had it on a sort of trolley.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and it's all coming back to you.
Yeah, oh gosh. And he pushed it through the wall, and it all fell to pieces of the wall, and it had sort of smoke stuff coming out and lights flashing. And of course, if they got it wrong, we were screwed, because you had to build the wall again. So every time we got there was an actress with us, wasn't there? I've forgotten her name, who married
Tracy Louise Ward.
Yeah, Tracy Ward. You know,
She'll come on to her in a minute.
she couldn't quite get the lines at all. So so if she get it wrong, you go, they got a queue, you see, to come in. So the queue, you go, no, don't come in, no monster, no, I got cut, here we go again. And look what we did it twice. The wall fell to pieces, it takes 2 hours, you're running out of time, everyone's getting pissed off. It was a nightmare.
On the subject of guest casting, I think Time Lash has a really great casting. Obviously, you two are both in it. But what are your memories of a certain Mr. Paul Darrow chewing the scenery in every scene?
I've got a friend of mine called Roy Gould. He's a very successful, has been a director and producer of comedy shows. He did a lot of the most famous comedy shows. I just sent a message and he said, oh, and I told him about Dean. So he said, oh, I remember that. He said, oh, that was that show that Paul Darrow was in, wasn't it? And I went, yeah. The text said he played everything like Richard III. He said he never did anything else. So I liked Paul though because you could set him up. And once he got that wig on, he looked like a sort of drag act, really. Yeah. But he really enjoyed himself with it. So.
He was very over the top, wasn't he? I mean, he didn't take it seriously. I gathered that Colin had been in a Blake 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where the rivalry started, because I think that Colin had stolen the show. And so it was Paul's turn, so when it cost he was a guest on that, then all gloves were off. But yeah, like you, I got on with Paul as a person, you know, in terms of chatting with him and having a laugh with him. But working with him was very difficult, because he, you know, everything had to revolve around his performance and what he wanted. You'd be just in the middle of doing something and he'd stop it. And, you know.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it was very much like that.
I remember they brushed his hair a lot.
Yeah,
like a commercial, the sort of,
you know that thing. You know that thing in Time Lash where we weren't allowed to have anything reflective. That wasn't part of the script. That was Darrow.
There you go.
And on the subject of other cast members, so Eric, you had a lot of scenes with Jean Ann Crowley, who played Vina.
Yeah.
And also in Time Lash, it was an early TV job for Stephen McIntosh, who went on to appear in huge things such as Luther, for example.
Well, he's a gold star.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your memories of those people?
Well, I'd worked with Stephen before because I did a series for the BBC. I think the school won some awards. It was a really good series actually. I got Peter Jeffries directed, well under it. And Stephen played, it was about home. Kids, it's like those. And when I remember Stephen, he was about 10. And I played the eldest kid in the home. I was supposed to be 17 or something. And Stephen, with the scene to do, I always remember, it was in the studios, and Stephen played a kid, big emotional scene to do. And he was supposed to break down in a long speech. And I said to the director, or Peter said to me, he said, just carry on, just don't, if it goes on, don't worry about it. So just help him out. So we're saying he's bloody good, even you could tell, he's a fantastic actor. But he got the hiccups in it, right in the middle of the scene. I went, really bad, too bad. But all the time, I thought he's going to stop. Or should I say, look, should we start getting cutting because of water or something? And the floor manager obviously getting messaged me and went, let's keep going. What? And he went right the way through that scene, Stephen, played the whole thing with hiccups. It was brilliant. It was so real because he wasn't timing to it, it was just affecting things where it would normally. So it was great, and so I'd met him before. I can't remember very much. Did it have very much to do with him?
No, I'd thrown him in the Time Lash by the time.
Oh, there you go. That's
he
what
was the first
very much.
He was the first one we disposed of. And he was brilliant, actually, because when I was talking to Pennant about this thing about, he said, I want you to grab them by the throat. And I said, I was a bit uncomfortable about this. I said, because of the way the kids copy everything in the schoolyard. And I said, if I'm coming around the front, if someone emulates that or does it, it's dangerous. But if I grab them behind, the back of the neck, it's nice and safe. So if they do that, there's a chance that won't happen. So we did that, and also for sightlines, it was better for sightlines because you get no faces in it. And I said to Stephen, I said, well, I want to make out that I'm really strong, but I'm not. You know, so if I grab you around the back, can you do all the lifting up so it feels like I'm lifting you, but I'm not doing anything? So I don't want veins coming outside the neck trying to lift you up. So he was the first one to do that, and then of course you did it brilliantly, because I grabbed you behind, and suddenly it was like you did this amazing kind of face, and you know, just lifted up. And then Colin did it.
An amazing face, wasn't
It was incredible, it was really good.
He's not been asked about, I spent the whole time whispering.
Oh, God, yeah, this is Whispering Eric Deacon, by the way. That was his nickname from Colin, who took me aside and said, watch Eric, Whispering Eric from Colin. So I said, what's that? Because this was my first job. Colin took me under his wing. He said, learn from him. He said, he whispers all his lines. I said, well, what's that about? He said, well, when you whisper, they've got to bring the microphone in closer in order to get his voice. When they bring the microphone in, they have to bring the camera in to get the microphone out of shot, which means it gets all close-ups.
I have to say, it's very nice of you to say that, but that's the reason I did it. I just whispered everybody. Especially the lines were a bit dodgy, weren't you? They were all good. Yeah. The interesting when I first met Steve, I just remember this, on that show as well, another young kid who was in it, their first job, was Pauline Quirk.
Oh, right, yeah.
What happened to her?
Yeah.
She runs drama schools.
She does, yeah, absolutely. So, Time Rush. The story was written by Glenn McCoy. It's a really good story, but to be fair, it is let down by the confines of the studio. The story has a history of scoring low in fan opinions, but I actually quite like it. How would you change the opinions of Doctor Who fans who think Time Rush is not great? And have you seen the new version on Blu-ray which has been updated for special effects? So no more tinsel in the Time Rush?
No. I don't think that would make a great deal of difference. I'd bribe them.
Bribe them.
I think you'd have to bribe them quite a lot. I was at one of these two somewhere a few years ago. A guy, there were two Scottish guys there. I thought, maybe my first meeting. This guy came over and said to me, he said, I have to tell you, best show, I'm telling you this because when it went out, and I hadn't seen it, I was working on something else filming, my father-in-law phoned me up, Tad, he phoned me up and said, and he's a solicitor, an avid Doctor Who fan like yourselves, and he said, Eric, I have to tell you something, I just watched your episode of Doctor Who, I did some photos. Oh, well, okay, Ted, yeah. He said, I have to tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, it's absolutely 100% the worst episode I've ever seen. So after that, I became a little less, I think I better watch that for a while and calm down. So then these two guys came up and said, and I was telling this guy, he said, I think it's a brilliant episode. And I went, really? He went, I said, because it's all a story about my father-in-law. He went, every New Year's Eve, my mate and myself, that's what we do, I said, my mate and myself, we go out and have a few dinners, we get attacked out. He said, we come back and we put it on DVD. We put it on and watch it every New Year's Eve like that. It's fantastic. I'm thinking, were you sober? He went, of course not.
So what you're saying is you have to be drunk to watch Time Rush?
Well, I don't know. Maybe not the new version. I wouldn't say it's the finest performance I've ever given, even whispering. Let's put it that way.
Dean, before I open up questions to the audience, you did come back a few years later after Time Rush and worked on The Greatest Show in the Galaxy.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I was walking back home in Hampstead, Cospelone, sorry, elevating myself a bit there, and I walked past an antique shop, and as I was walking past, in the corner of my eye, I glanced and I thought, I recognise that person. And that's unusual in London. In Guernsey, it happens all the time. You look down the street, people you meet from there. And it was unusual for me to see someone I recognised. And I looked round, and it was Alan Waring, who was the floor manager on Time Rush. And I carried on walking, and I thought, no, don't do that. That's just silly. There's someone there you know. Go back and say hello, even though I didn't know Alan that well. I mean, we worked together also. And it had been a few years. I think a couple of of years. So I went back in, I went, hello, and he remembered me. And I said, hello, Dean, how are you? And I went, oh yeah, Alan, how you doing? And so I just walked past and I said, I live around the corner. So he said, so what are you doing? So he said, I'm in the shop, and of course being an actor producer, that's what he said. Oh, I'm a director now. So, oh right, okay. He said, I'm directing a casualty down in Bristol. So actually, there's a part in it for you. Anyway, next day I get a script, and it's for a small part of Jason in the second series of Casualty. So I went down and I did that. And then he rang me up. He said, I'm doing a Doctor Who. Do you want to do it? And I said, I can't. I said, why not? I'm always talking myself out of jobs. It's ridiculous. And he said, why not? I said, because I've been in it. I can't do it twice. I mean, the fans will know that it's not real. For an actor, you can be in two places at once. And I think Colin had been in it twice as well. So anyway, I went down and did it. But I don't know if I should tell the story about episode 3. Yeah. I might put myself out some money. Alan gave me the day off. He said, I don't need you for tomorrow. He said, you can have a day off. Go on. I said, yeah, but I've got a scene where, he said, no, we'll use the dummy. It's the scene where he goes with a stretcher. So that was the dummy. But Alan told the BBC that it was me. So I got paid for that episode, so I'm not actually in it. Yeah. So I got 25% more money and the repeat fees as well because of Alan wearing. So thank you, mate.
You see, the funny thing is about, well, all actors are sort of jolly, aren't they? All actors just get the next job, even though you get things you think you're not going to. And everyone wanted to do Doctor Who because it was sold everywhere. You get repeats, and they used to go, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money at that. Well, I never did. And I did, and I remember I was in, on and off for about 3 or 4 years, in Lovejoy, and I actually wrote some of the Lovejoys in it. So, and Lovejoy was fantastically well paid, because that's why they've got great actors in it, because they paid you twice your fee up front, so they didn't give you the repeats. And that's why you get very good actors in Doctor Who. Actors are just going, I'm going to get well paid, I'll do that, it'll be fun, it's a nice job to do. Whereas some other jobs are a bit of a grind. They might be worthy, but they are a bit of a grind.
The thing I will say about Doctor Who, though, that's different from all other jobs I've done, is that I did the first Time Lash was a month, wasn't it? It was a month gig. And I think Great Show was about a month as well, but it was down in Weymouth. And probably the shortest jobs I've ever done. And yet, it's almost been a lifetime of stuff, recurring stuff, like today and last week in London, and Doctor Who comes up at the end, because it's so huge.
It never leaves you.
Never leaves you, no. I've had lots of proper jobs on the basis on my CV that said it was in Doctor Who. IT departments opened their doors to me. Surprise, surprise.
Thanks, guys. Any questions from the audience at all? Yes, sir. Just over that.
I'd like to ask Dean, when you were doing the dialogue for the android, was it your idea to do it in that sing-song way, or was that part of the script?
Really good question, because this has been a bugbear of mine for years. So, when I was cast, I didn't know how to do a mechanical voice. And Pennant gave me a really difficult direction. He said, I don't want you to do it like a Dalek. Well, that was the only mechanical voice I had. So I didn't know what the difference between a mechanical voice and a Dalek would be. So I went back to my voice tutor at drama school, and I said to her, look, I'm really stuck, I don't know what to do here. So I said, what's the difference? And she said, well, you're okay, you can go to any note that you want to, as long as you don't slide. So a human voice has a slide, goes up and slides down because of the larynx. But a mechanical voice can't do that. So therefore you can take any note you want as long as you don't slide. Yeah?
There you go.
Oh, thank you. So that was the rationale behind it. The second thing was that I didn't want to make it too complicated, because obviously if I'm doing random notes all the time, then that's going to get difficult if I go do it again and again. So I thought, keep it simple, and I noticed the set had a triangle, so I said, right, I'm going to use 3. And it's, that was my rationale. So I used 3 notes, and then I went through every syllable of the script, so that if it was a question, I ended up on the up, the highest note, so it came to the top, and when it was a statement, I came on the down note. And that was the idea behind that. So a lot of work went into it, and then obviously I had a kind of an emotionless voice as well that I put into it. And then they just bollocked it up in the radiophonic workshop. Through. So it sounds like I'm on helium, and the sing-songy thing comes out, and I hated it. And I was so annoyed because no one ever asked me if, that's the thing with actors on TV, you think that we get to choose our performance, and sometimes it's not, we get chosen by the editor or the producer or that clip that we don't like, and even the voice that was used was not what I wanted.
Well, my whispering voice wasn't mine.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Did you do the voice of the bus conductor as well, or was that someone else?
Did you
That's a deep one.
I was worried there for a minute.
Yeah, that was my voice. And actually, I also play, I don't know if you noticed, but I also do the voiceover for the junk mail. There's a robot that lands in the beginning, and Alan asked me to come in and do the voiceover for that.
Ah.
So
Did you get paid for that?
yeah, that's Alan again, looking after young actors, making sure I was okay, pay rent. But it was my own voice. But as I was saying to you last night, I got the helmet thing. It was the hottest day in August, and I was screwed into it. I had 2 screws inside here, and like that. And as I was screwing it in, it was that point that I realised that it had no nose. So my nose was getting pressed and pressed, and I couldn't actually breathe. My nose was stuck. I was in it all day, and I couldn't see because there was just the 2 gauzes for the eyes. So I had to be led around everywhere and up and down the stairs and everything. It was bloody dangerous.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other questions from the audience at all? Let's go to you first, sir.
Which one Darren you preferred? I wonder, is that connected rehearsal or was it just meant to get on studio?
No, he was always like that. I mean, honestly, he was always like that.
He was like that in the canteen.
Yeah, he just was. He was one of those guys. He'd been in, hadn't he, late 70s, and he'd been in that, and that I tell you this last night. My brother's an actor, and he was married to an actress called Rula Leinster. Rula's doing a play now of Marriott Hotel or something with Sally Nivette, who was in that. Sally Nivette had a big part in Blake 7. Now she's playing a tiny part in the total play. It's weird as we get old and things happen. Well, Paul was always like that. I knew of it socially, I think, but he was just one of those sort of large. And he was probably a better actor than you'd think. In fact, I'm sure he was. But he just, some actors are a bit, I wouldn't say lazy, but he had a sort of relish that he liked it. In Blake 7, it was all like that, wasn't it? He liked the sound of his own voice.
I had an actor in my theatre company called Mark Ingham, who was from Rotherham. He worked with Paul in Macbeth, a small part in that company. He said he played with like Richard III in that. He had everything like that.
Yeah.
All the big, huge,
It's a bit like this actor called Brian Blessed, you know that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did about 2 or 3 shows with Brian. His commercials. And yet Brian is climbing the Himalayas and these mountains and stuff. He's incredibly into Buddhism and stuff, but he's a really intelligent man. But the acting he sort of does, or he gets asked to do, is all this. And I think it was in BBC 2 years ago, a thing about Nero or one of those Roman, and when he had a diet, it's amazing acting.
Oh, I Claudius.
He's right. Yeah, it's fantastic. But he's made a fortune out of playing these great things that look like a pirate that's on speed or something.
And also Z-Cars, he's fantastic in that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
And I'm old enough, I was in Z-Cars, okay, not with him, well, in my actually. And Brian used to shoot it as live. That was live television. That nerves, you see that. And Brian Bless told me a great story once. He said, I said, what's it, when you get people to really nervous? He said, oh God. He was sitting in the car, and he'd arrested someone. Okay? And we started doing the scene, and because you can see it's got this back projection going on, and the guy next to him starts to panic a bit. Okay? Because Brian's been told, keep it going, it's live. And if they've got to float some time, you just have to keep going a bit longer. And the guy panicked so much, Brian's a big guy, he thought he was trying to get out of the car, and was supposed to be still going out of the projection. So he grabbed it by the arm, underneath it, like that. The guy's going, get up! Ah! Screaming at the thing. He seems like that all the time. So he was a very interesting man. He's been married to the same man for a long, long time. You know, he's lovely to spend time with. I mean, really nice man to spend time with. And he sort of looked, he mentioned me, I was a bit older now, but the same thing. I worked with him on stuff. I don't know anything called. Something where it was after a big sort of cataclysmic thing had happened, and we were all living in the wilds and stuff. Big deep sea. Survivors, exactly. Thank you very much.
See, they do know more about us.
Yeah. And Brian had this. He was playing the leader of the gang. It was a bit like we shot bows and arrows and stuff like that. Rubbish, really. That sort of stuff. And I asked again. I knew the guy was directing it. He said, "Do you want to come and do this?" I had a brother's that. Your brother can do it. It's two brothers. And my brother went, "No, I don't want to do it." Right. So off I went. And Brian Blessed was there, and he had the biggest horse stallion I've ever seen in my life. It was huge. I mean, huge. He'd get people to help him to get on it. And he could hold it like that. He said, I've ridden this boat before. He said, I've got to keep this big hump with nothing down. And I'm on a pony beside him. I look like this sort of child. And I couldn't really ride. Thank God, the guy that they cast to play my brother was worse on a horse than me. And every time we stopped, one of us really difficult, but the camera got stopped, and the horse would just run off with him. And Brian Blessed would stop the city, bring that bugger back!
And you had a question.
That's the thing about your makeup room. How easy was it to apply? How easy to get it? How long did it take?
Nightmare. Took 2 hours. If you come onto my Facebook, I've got some photos on my Facebook you can download, and it's been makeup and in various stages. Vanessa Holden did my makeup. And as I say, it was a backhanded compliment using my own face. I couldn't afford the mask that they originally were going to use. So it was latex and porridge mixed in, which was clear. And then she painted it, that had to set. And then she painted the blue over the top of it, just ordinary makeup paint. And then sprayed my hair with yellow and stuff. And I had to be in that all day for the shoots and that. And when I came to take it off, I said, so how do I take it off? She said, oh, that's all right, like you said last night. They always say that. Just go in the shower, it will just all come off. Yeah. So I get in the shower, and I get the old soap out, and I sort of go like this. It's a bit wrinky, it's a bit wrinky. Of course, it acts like a scrub, so it took all the first layer of my skin off as I was taking it off, because it was like stuck in, which was okay, and I didn't sort of think much of it until the following morning when I came to have the second layer of light. Yeah. And of course, the bloody latex went straight into the, I tell you what, it's very difficult to describe what the pain was like. It was really horrendous. And she went, oh my God, and of course there was blood on my forehead and all that stuff. So anyway, I remember years ago I was at the National Youth Theatre, I used to wear a lot of makeup. And there was this blue liquid called Kryolan or something like that. Anyway, the BBC didn't have any, so they couriered some from Germany. They managed to get hold of some, they got it there the next day for me to be able to put stuff on. And what it did basically was dissolve the latex, but leave the face relatively intact. So that's the story of that.
I got it worse because I said last night I did a film with my brother in Holland, a big Greenway film, which is I'd say the strange one was called Z2 North, about two separate Siamese twins. And that's the funny bit of it. And in the end, we were supposed to commit suicide, the two of us, but 400 of us actually. And we went to this place and we were supposed to lay down in the middle of this huge, it's supposed to be like Garden of Eden, on this thing in the middle of the night, and one of us photographs, puts on a camera, and we photographed our death and commit suicide because our wives had died before, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we're doing this. Now, he said, what I want to happen is these snails are going to come up all over the things you're laying there, dying because you've ejected each other, and they'll come on you, and they're going to stop the camera. Well, you're going to see a long tracking shot, 60 yards long, all in one take. It's going to be right behind us. We start naked with the stage, because we've taken up our, we used to have a double suit, okay? So you've got an arm for two of you in the middle, and an arm on the other side, a little bit tricky, and we lay down, and they had boxes like this, crates really, of snails. And I went, I'm a bit worried about the snails. He went, no, they're all, they're all being checked as especially breakfast. That's absolute bullshit. We're laying there, and they're coming all over us. I thought, it's bad enough because it's freezing cold in the middle of the night. And then they start putting the snails on us. And they go up. I mean, all over. It's slightly difficult, imagine. And what they never told us was to be laying there. He's supposed to be dead. And he started something, what is that? Ow, what's that? And they're hermaphroditic, aren't they? But they've all their sex organs, whatever they are, if you look, but they scratch you. And by the time we finished, I was covered in the scratches. Can you imagine explaining to someone else, if you look that way inclined, what are those marks? And you said snails, don't worry about that.
Ever molested by a snail.
Yeah.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation to Eric